The Torah describes physical characteristics through which kosher animals, birds, and insects can be identified. The Torah identifies kosher animals as having split hooves and chewing their cud. Kosher fish have fins and scales. And kosher insects, specifically the locusts that are kosher, in addition to their name, also have physical characteristics described in the Torah through which they can be identified. Kosher birds are not identified in the Torah by any physical characteristics. Instead, the Torah in Sefer Vayikra and in Sefer Devarim presents a list of 24 species of birds which are forbidden. According to the way the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch understand the Gemara in Chulin, any bird which is not listed among those 24 species of forbidden birds is a permitted bird. Thus, if a person was able to identify all of the forbidden birds, the other thousands of species which exist in the world would be permitted to them. The Mishnah in Chulin was well aware that not everybody could identify all of the forbidden species of birds. And the Mishnah in Chulin has a list of 4 characteristics through which the kosher and the non-kosher birds could be differentiated. The Mishnah in Chulin does not describe the origin of this list, other than saying it's midivrei sofrim. The Gemara elaborates on the origins of the characteristics which the Mishnah uses to differentiate between the kosher and the non-kosher birds. The Gemara explains that the nesher, the fish eagle, is the quintessential non-kosher bird. Similarly, the Gemara notes that the tur, the turtle dove, is the quintessential kosher bird. The Gemara explains that by comparing the nesher, the fish eagle, to the tur, the turtle dove, the Mishnah was able to come up with the 4 characteristics which it notes as being applicable to differentiating between the kosher and the non-kosher birds. If anyone could imagine a fish eagle, which is a very large bird of prey, and the turtle dove, the tur, it's obvious that there are many differences between them besides the differences described in the Mishnah. The Bali Tosfos suggests that there must be an earlier origin of the Mishnah, because after all, which scientist had such a comprehensive knowledge of all the species of birds in the world that they were able to say with certainty that the 4 characteristics which the Mishnah uses to differentiate between the kosher and the non-kosher birds applies to every single species of birds. The origin of these 4 characteristics is certainly not in the Torah, and the Bali Tosfos conclude that the origins of the 4 characteristics which differentiate the kosher and non-kosher birds go back to the time of Noach. The Torah records that Noach, when he emerged from the Teva, he brought sacrifices from all the permitted species of birds and animals. The Bali Tosfos conclude that he must have been able to identify the permitted species of birds and animals. And it was Noach, having at his disposal all the species of birds which survived, was able to research and identify the signs that the Mishnah recorded which can be used to differentiate between the kosher and the non-kosher species of birds. The Mishnah has 4 signs through which the kosher and non-kosher birds can be differentiated. The first sign of the Mishnah is that the bird must be an eino dores. Kosher birds must be birds which do not tear at other birds. The second sign of the Mishnah is that the bird has a zefek, a crop, which we'll discuss in a few minutes. The third sign is a kurkuba niklaf biyad, a gizzard which can be peeled with the hand. And the final sign of the Mishnah is that the bird has an etzba yetera, an extra toe. As we noted earlier, the tur, the turtle dove, is the quintessential kosher bird. If you take a look at the turtle dove, you'll notice that, first of all, I'm holding the turtle dove in my hand. The turtle dove is not hurting me, and if you've ever seen anybody who holding an eagle in their hand, or an owl, they have to wear thick leather gloves, because the owl and the eagle, even if they're trained, will accidentally hurt the person who's handling them. The turtle dove, if you take a look at its face, you'll notice that it has a beak which is very fine. This bird cannot peck or attack other birds with its beak, and it also cannot use its beak to tear meat. If you take a look at the feet of the turtle dove, you'll notice that the feet are very fine. The bird cannot scratch with its feet, nor can it use its feet to tear or attack other birds. This bird, by just observing it, we can see that it is clearly not a dorace. It is not a bird which attacks other species. If we were to take a look at the anatomy of this bird, the food enters through the mouth and it travels down the esophagus. What you can see in the picture in front of you now is that at the base of the esophagus there is a crop, a zephek. It looks like a small latex pouch at the base of the esophagus. The food first passes to the crop, to the zephek. It's collected there, and then it is slowly passed from the zephek, from the crop, further down the digestive tract to get to the gizzard, the kurkabun of the bird. Inside the kurkabun of the bird swallows not only food, but also stones. Unlike people that have teeth, birds do not have teeth, and what the bird does with its gizzard is it uses stones to grind down the food which it's eating. If you look at the picture in front of you of the kurkabun, you'll notice that the kurkabun has been cut open. In this picture, you see that the membrane of the kurkabun was peeled off. This is called kurkabun niklaf, and this particular kurkabun, it was niklaf biyad. It was peeled off with the hand, which means that a person holds the kurkabun in their hand, they can rub it, and the membrane will separate and will be peelable. Finally, if you look at the foot of the turtle dove, you'll notice that it has 3 toes in front, and one toe, this toe, the middle toe, is a little bit longer than the other toes. And according to many Rishonim, that is the identification of an etzbe yetera, an extra toe, having one toe which is longer than the other toes. This is a chicken. As you know, a chicken is a kosher bird. If you take a look at the face of the chicken, you'll notice that its beak is not as fine as that of the turtle dove. This chicken has a very thick beak, not necessarily as powerful as a hawk or an eagle, but it has a beak which is powerful, and if you take a look at its feet, you'll notice that its feet are also powerful. As you know, there are people who fight chickens. No, not people who fight chickens. There are chickens. I'm sorry about that. There are chickens who fight, which can be instigated to fight other chickens. They will fight each other to the death and kill each other with their feet. Yet, we know that the chicken is not a predator because we know it's a kosher species. Yet, if we were to encounter the chicken for the first time, we would be concerned that perhaps this chicken is a predator. If we were to take a look inside the chicken, you would see that it does have a zephek, it does have a crop very similar to that of a turtle dove, and its gizzard, its kurkabun, is niklaf biyad, can be peeled with the hand. If you take a look at its foot, you'll notice that it has one toe, which is longer than the other toes, a etzbe yetera similar to that found in the turtle dove. It also has a toe right over here, which is very small, and when it stands, doesn't really serve a purpose. And some Rishonim feel that this toe over here is the etzbe yetera. And there's a final view among the Rishonim that an etzbe yetera is the spur, right over here, an outgrowth, which is sort of like a nail, which the chicken uses to fight other chickens. So this chicken has the 3 physical signs of a kosher bird, and we know it certainly is not a dorace. It is eino dorace because it is kosher. the Rishonim are of the opinion that there are no predators which are kosher. All birds of prey are not kosher. So we only know that it's Eino Dores because it's kosher. Yet if we were to look at the chicken for the first time, a chicken which has a beak, which has power, which has feet, which can be used to fight and even kill other birds, we might be concerned that perhaps the chicken is in fact a Dores. Okay? Now I'm going to put the chicken in this cage, and to reward it for cooperating with us and to keep it happy, I'm going to feed it a chicken. And you'll notice that the chicken is going to eat. If this calms down, it's going to eat the chicken.